Broadcasting alive from the Green Room Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, it's the At Home Show with Josh Carey and David Bates, celebrating 25 years of home and garden wisdom. Without further ado, your hosts, Josh Carey and David Bates.
Oh, welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday morning. It means it's time for the At Home Show.
It means that indeed.
This is the Bonnaroo edition of the At Home Show.
You know, it is. That's the edition that comes after the CMA Fest edition.
Yes, but
So,
you know, we have broadcast for every single Bonnaroo.
And Josh, this is also the Father's Day edition.
Yes.
Congratulations to you, Josh.
Congratulations to you.
And we'll go ahead and throw it across there to Austin as well. Congratulations on Father's Day to you, Austin.
Thank you.
And that, of course, is Austin Lowen. Caroline Gant.
Hi.
They're on the Earth Mix stage of the
Bonnaroo edition.
of the Bonnaroo edition. Tyler Blankenship is capably producing us. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
And
good to see everyone.
we will just get directly into the weather,
Yes.
and we're going to definitely have weather today.
Most
It's going to
assuredly.
be pretty nice. We're not going to have issues with the weather. However, we do have kind of a haze warning. So I don't know if that means that, you know, people are going to make you push donuts down the hallway with your nose, that kind of hazing.
Okay.
I don't think I think it has to do with air quality.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah. So 89 degrees for the high today, and partly cloudy conditions. More for the same tomorrow, except that the cloudy conditions will perhaps increase late in the day, and we could have a chance of rainfall after dark. And that can carry over into Monday. That, by the way, that would be very beneficial to get rainfall. And you'll
Yes.
see through the remainder of the
Goodness
forecast,
gracious.
there's actually a considerable chance of rain throughout the week. It says scattered thunderstorms, and what that means for each of us is that you might be in the spot where you get it, and then again, you might not be. So you could get perhaps as much as a couple of inches by this time next week. Well, you might not get anything.
Need it
So,
in the-
Yesterday,
37.
I watched it rain above and below me.
yes.
Two separate cells. It was great.
And that is not uncommon this time of year. So we will quickly look at the radar, and you can see that down in the Gulf and in Florida, near the Panhandle, there's some thunderstorms, and out to the northwest of us, those will be possibly rainmakers in the coming days for us. However,
Is that
the
Nebraska?
the general atmosphere is
That's
kind
Kansas.
I think that's a Kansas.
yeah, it's Kansas.
it's kind of in this state of perpetual turmoil. There've been some really devastating tornadoes, particularly in the Texas Panhandle the past few days. So remain weather aware and vigilant about that. Don't let your guard down. You know, as I've heard it said by at Ryan Hall, who's Ryan Hall Y'all, which is a weather guy I follow online. You know, don't be scared, be prepared. So,
Is that anything like David Hall, Rockshaw?
well, since it rhymes and they have the same last name, I
Oh.
guess it could be. So,
Could be.
quickly we'll look at the weather station here at Bates Nursery. We've gotten 0.43 of an inch of rain this week. 1.15 for the month, and we're approaching 24.5 inches year to date. So, again, it is 68 degrees here at Bates Nursery, live from the Green Room, the At Home Show.
Yep. We got lots of questions out here.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, we do.
That's good, because life is full of questions.
Yes, it is.
And we'll try to answer some. Perhaps they'll add something to your life. We just hope they don't subtract anything.
Or
that-
divide it.
Yeah.
No more division.
You know, no multiplicative inverse happening here. We want it to be just straightforward.
Careful, you're scaring people.
Okay. Well, let's, guys, any comments before we proceed on? And by the way, it's this Father's Day weekend,
It
as
is.
we mentioned. So I'm very grateful to be a dad, and it's probably for guys, it's the biggest thing that it's potentially one of the things it's a big deal for you. So
Having kids?
having kids is
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
It's right up there,
It's a
man.
responsibility of having them and trying to be, a good role model and
Wallet.
that occurs,
Yes.
But it's all good.
Uh-huh.
So I'm proud to have my children in my life, and I'm it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I'll keep mine.
Yeah. Well, you got a wedding coming up this summer, and, so
yeah.
that's just the way that is.
Yeah.
So let's roll on, Caroline and Austin.
Hey.
We're shaking over your way. You got anything that's
Shaking.
pressing? Got anything that's pressing your brain today before we get into the questions?
I'm just thinking about flowers. There's a lot of flowers in front of Austin's face. I'm going to fix that real quickly.
That one needs there we go.
There we
A
go.
little-
Now
that-
you're framed nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, flowers are gorgeous, and that's all I want to do and think about right now.
Well, and you know what? Given the plethora. Floral accumulation we have around us, we will enjoy it, and it's that's all summer long. This is really the time of year where perennials are just really getting ready to shine.
They do that every year.
They do it every year. That's the
single year.
perennial nature
Yeah,
of perennials.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We don't have a single annual in here, y'all.
All perennial.
All of these are perennial plants, come back every year
Yeah.
without a problem, and bloom like this.
Now, let's quickly, you mentioned two words there in the same sentence, annual and perennial. So, Austin, quickly discuss the difference between those two. It is worth knowing.
It is. It's very, very common for people to mess this up. Even before I started doing, this for a career, I would often mess up annuals versus perennials. It's you kind of think it can be weird, But annuals are just an annual crop, 1 year, or really one growing season is what you get with your annuals, and those are the ones that flower. The great thing about annuals is that they flower constantly, so they keep on going until frost. So you've got color. So don't just think, well, I got to buy those every year. I don't want to do that with annuals. Yeah, well, you can say that, but perennials are different, though, where perennials come back every year, sure, but they've got their bloom time, that may be over a month, roughly about a month. Most of the perennials will bloom, but that's it. It's for a month, so that's the difference. They do come back, and they live year after year. Some of them can spread and get big, and annuals, like I said, they don't come back every year, but they give you constant color until frost. So use both.
Yeah, and that's really the key element is if you want to have continuous color, you do need some of both. There are perennials that if you deadhead them properly and maintain them, they will set more buds and reflower, but that's not generally the rule. They generally, like you just said, they have their season when they flower, and then they're done until the next year. So having some annuals in there really bridges that gap for where there's not color continuously coming out of the perennials, and careful selection of perennials
Well, and you gotta
gives
be
you that
careful.
ability to stagger those flower times.
You have to look at your zones and your labels too, though, don't you? Because what people sell as perennials may not be perennial in Middle Tennessee.
There are those who are not professionals in the industry
Online is what
some of the, and I'm not discrediting any of the big boxes, but that's just one of the things they do. It's kind of a sideline thing, and they may get things in from growers that say from Southern Alabama,
Southern.
and it's called a perennial there, where here we'd call it an annual.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it can't survive the winter. It might do it down there, but it doesn't here. So
Wouldn't that be Lower Alabama?
L.A. Yes.
LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, I think we've covered that well enough.
you
Caroline,
did.
jump in here and direct us.
All right, giving you some direction here. Before we hit questions, though, there is a pretty little plant right above David's head. If we can go back to that side of the room. And it also sounded like there was a fly in here. Yeah, so we just got these very cool weeping crepe myrtles in here at the nursery, which is a new thing from Monrovia. And it's exciting. We already have a question about it. Somebody is asking.
That doesn't mean they're sad.
It does. They're a little bit sad, but beautiful.
They're blue.
They're asking, how big is it going to get? What do I need to do if I buy one? And I don't know if we know that answer yet because, like I said, it's new, but I'm sure Austin has plenty to say about it.
Well, I do.
Okay.
So yes, she's right. So I talked to the sales rep from Monrovia, Brent Grunfeld, who he works for Monrovia, and they've got about, what did he tell me? I think he told me they've got 92
Yeah, not a lot.
of these plants available. 92. Okay, we just bought 10 of them,
Wow.
and we're bringing them in. It's the very first
Dun,
weeping,
dun.
true weeping crepe myrtle. And this is the first question I asked Brent. Okay, he showed me the picture of these before we bought them, and they had these blooms on them, and they were turned down and kind of weeping a little bit. And I said, Brent, come on now. I said, is that an actual weep, or is it just the blooms are so heavy that the stems are turning down? And he said, no, this is an actual true weeper. I got my eyes on them, and I looked at them, and it is true. These stems literally come up, and then they turn down as a true, very first weeping crepe myrtle.
Well,
so
I feel like
time
we
will
need
about
tell.
that. We're the only people in Nashville that have these, y'all.
Yeah, and
And not for long.
And we have 11% of the total production of their entire company.
The entire crop. Okay, that's all that, and we have got them. We're the only ones. And I mean, think about it: sitting by your pool, got a big, nice pot. Pop one of these weeping crepe myrtles in. It's going to bloom and be great.
It's still
Okay,
it's
okay.
You need
covered
one.
with
Overall
blossom.
size, Austin?
Austin. get
Overall
one.
size, I need y'all to buy one to tell me.
Okay.
Because that's the thing about
Okay.
weepers.
Okay, now what's the downside of putting it in a pot?
It might not come back next year. Maybe.
So
That
people,
hurts.
Put it in your shed. Put it
people
in
need,
your garage.
right, people need to be apprised of that, giving it some additional protection. Certainly, crepe myrtle are not known for their extreme winter hardiness. They are really hardy here, but in severe winters they can get killed back to the ground.
like happened at my house.
Yes.
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 So if
Happened
you
a
have
lot.
it having it in a pot's a great thing. Just be aware that it's not going to be able to survive throughout the winter outdoors in that container.
What's the rootstock on it? Did he
It's
tell you?
all one, right?
I
I
not
think it's all
grafted.
one. I'm not sure that it's
Wow.
grafted. I haven't even looked.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's trained. I don't see a graft at the base.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow,
it's-
Monrovia.
Just a brand new cultivar.
So there
Also,
you
according
go.
to the tag, it reaches in tree form 6 feet tall, 8 feet wide.
So it'll never get that big here.
Yeah.
Reaches.
Well, that's the thing about weeping
It's a
stuff,
goal.
y'all. Like everyone's different. There's not the same. You know, people ask me like, how big's a weeping cherry going to get? Well, that kind of depends. Every weeping cherry I've ever seen is a little bit different. Some can get extremely wide. Some stay tight to their weep. You know, so
I've
it
seen
kind of
them
depends.
20 feet wide.
And
Yeah.
there are nuances in weeping cherries for the rootstock and for the understock for the graft, because they are generally are a double graft, and those things affect the ultimate growth habit and how big they grow, and they're not always the same. From what, even though the top part might be the same, how it grows off won't necessarily be identical from one supplier to a next, because they have those deviations in how they produce them.
I got another crepe myrtle question over here.
All right.
It says last Saturday they noticed that the crepe myrtles had a very glistening tone to them, and they have an aphid infestation. They've spread with neem oil twice since last Saturday. Is there anything else they can do, and how often to spray? Someone suggested getting ladybugs released. Where does one find people who sell ladybugs?
Caroline. where'd you
Yep,
get
that's
yours?
your that's your
There's
question.
I get them online sometimes. You'll want to research your seller though to make sure you're getting the right kind of ladybug. But there are a lot of great sellers online that you can get them. They ship really, really quickly, and I know for a fact that ladybugs absolutely love aphids. I mean, they will go right after them. I had an aphid problem, and I got some ladybugs, and they took care of it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
They do wake up hungry, so know that, and they wake up really, really thirsty.
And
so
of
make sure you
course-
water your plants before you open those bags.
And of course, we do know that technically they are a beetle.
Beetle.
Lady beetles is the correct
I
common
may-
name, but ladybugs is acceptable as well.
And it's a much cuter name.
Yes, it is. I do think that
Do you want the red ones or the orange ones, do we think, in this case? This would probably be the native native
The
ones. that
native
we're-
ones.
yeah.
I think they have 9 little dots on their back once they mature.
Okay, Austin, here's a question for you. It sounds like, based on Josh's question, that what people are seeing is the effects of woolly aphids that are
Ew.
the honeydew that is being excreted likely from a tree overhead. Could be a hackberry, could be a tulip tree. I've heard people already having issues with that. Does that sound probably accurate to you?
It could be. Regular aphids, aphids love crepe myrtle. And when they get on them and you don't see them for a minute, their numbers go from 100 to 1 million very, very quickly. So, getting ladybugs in there certainly is helpful. If you've sprayed neem oil and you've killed a lot of those aphids, which the neem oil will do, sometimes just literally taking a hard spray of just water and just cleaning your plant, like that will knock off a number of aphids, and it'll also clean off that residue that you're seeing that's got that shiny appearance, which is the honeydew. If you leave that honeydew on there, you're going to see a fungus that gets on there, and then those leaves will turn black on you, which is hideous. Yeah. So,
and the one thing, the neem oil, it will only be effective on the adults. I don't think it does a thing to eggs. So, respraying every few days is necessary to continue to kill the emerging adults as they come out of the incubation stage from being an egg. And then if you can do that for 2 to 3 weeks, you will break that reproductive cycle and get rid of the eggs. And then all you got to do is monitor closely, which is always the key thing to do with regards to pests and diseases, is to look closely,
And if you wash the crepe myrtle, you need to reapply the neem oil after you do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Yep.
yeah, really the water is for
just
for-
physically
just to
pushing
clean.
Getting
them
them
off.
off. It's kind of fun to do, though.
And
It is.
water is also very important. Things that are conifers tend to get mites. So
Not
if
maybes?
not maybes, mites. And water is one of the things they do not like. This is also the time of year, and I mentioned it in my newsletter this week, is people need to be thinking about bagworms and spider mites on conifers. They're very easy to control this time of year right now. If you wait, it gets exponentially more difficult just weeks ahead. So do that now. If you've got green giant arborvitae, you probably don't have Leland cypress. They've probably got wiped. But if you have other large conifers that have had them in the past, you at least need to be looking closely to discern that.
And if they got damaged during the freeze and they've got that partial conifer out there, would it be much more important this year than others?
I would just get in there and prune that dead out, and then you are only applying it to where that it's going to actually have effect.
Yeah, the pruning on the Leland cypress needs to happen, y'all. I'm driving around town
Now.
looking at Leland cypress, and I'm like, y'all, they're alive. They're pushing some green growth, from the interior, but a lot of the tips are brown and just dead. Just whack those off, y'all.
They're just skanky looking.
They
aren't
look bad. I'm
Yeah,
tired of looking at it.
If you're gonna keep them, at least act like you're going to keep them.
Yeah.
At least act like it. Okay, let's get some more questions in. We're going to stay on the crepe myrtle topic, kind of. Someone is asking good natives to pair with some crepe myrtle, so to plant in between or around. I actually just did a bed with the crepe myrtle. I planted little blue stem and echinacea, which I believe will pair fantastically with it.
And before Austin jumps on this question, I want to make sure everyone knows he has a great webinar that was done, I think, last year about crepe myrtles. About 8,000 people have watched that video. I recommend you watching it as well. It's extremely well done, a lot of information, so check that out on our YouTube channel at Bates Nursery. And I think it's just called All About Crepe Myrtles. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's what it's called. And I think Caroline's got a great point with the little blue stem, using that as a native for around your crepe myrtle. Think about a single stem crepe myrtle or a multi-stem crepe myrtle with grasses ringed up around them.
Pretty.
That's something.
it's going to be gorgeous.
That's something. I
People
like
are
that
gonna
idea.
drive by my house and say,
I really
wow.
love grasses. Grasses are so good.
Yeah, I have
with
a
other
lot.
things. Switchgrass. Oh,
Yeah,
Northwood switchgrass.
one of
the
these
best.
days, we're going to get Bridget in here on
Yes,
the
we
show
are.
because
I don't know.
she is the she is the presides over all things grass. She is
Girl's from Nebraska.
She's from Nebraska, and
Nebraska.
She know about corn then?
She knows a lot about corn.
Okay, I'll bet.
She loves corn.
but she is
Y'all could have a day
she
of
is a
talking about
grass aficionado. So we're gonna somehow trick her into coming on here one of these.
We tried to
Saturdays.
once.
We're gonna have to try hard because Bridge don't like that
She
camera.
runs.
She runs from the camera.
We'll get her, though.
We'll
Yep.
get her.
I can
It'll
change her voice and, put her in a
Blur out.
silhouette.
Do a
little bit.
silhouette.
What
Yeah.
we're probably going to have to do is like a taped thing where
Really
the-
like Miss Canthus.
and do that thing where they shoot from behind with the blacked out where that you
That's
can't, so
exactly what
it's
I'm-
a mystery expert. All right, so enough about that.
You'll only know her
Enough
name.
about that. Let's talk about hydrangea. Help! All my newly planted hydrangea center leaves keep turning yellow and dropping.
All right, so the key here is that you said newly planted. Whenever something is newly planted, it needs much more water than you think it would. And if leaves are yellowing and dropping from the interior of the plant, that is literally the first sign of water stress, especially with hydrangea.
Yep.
Hydra is in the name. It needs water, y'all, and it's just probably not getting enough water. And do know that plants go through a little bit of a stress period whenever you first plant them anyway. So losing a few leaves from the interior is not that big of a deal. Getting rid of them and making sure that the outermost part of the plant is staying perky and green with your water, water directly to the root zone, not on the leaves. That'll perk it back up. And like I said, just because you lost a few leaves on the interior or still losing a few, as long as the outermost part of the plant is okay, then you're okay. We got to get it through this first summer, this first season. Once you get it through that, then next year will be much easier on the water.
It's just very important for people to be mindful of the fact that when they replant something, you're not cutting any roots in a container-grown plant. However, it does not have roots initially that extend beyond the root ball that they came out of the container in. So consequently, they have no initial ability to extract moisture from the soil around it. They have to develop that as the roots search for moisture and grow out of that original root ball. So your watering needs to be, as Austin said, really diligent at the outset, allowing them time to begin to get established. And once they start into that soil, it is good to give them just enough time to dry to make those roots continue to search for water, which will inevitably give them a greater ability to deal with dry conditions, including drought.
And vacation.
And vacation, you probably need to have a special someone come
Yes.
water for you.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of new plantings, somebody needs to be checking on it. Do not think that Mother Nature is going to do it. She might,
She might.
but more likely she won't. Particularly if you vacation. Particularly if
we
you
got
vacation.
3 drops. In
If you
Smyrna.
vacation in August,
Yes.
your chances are not great.
That's why me and Tyler are going now. Oh, we're on vacation soon. All right, what are some flowers that tolerate shade well? 2 of my favorite are columbine and dicentra. Those are
Dicentra.
mine.
Bleeding heart.
Bleeding heart.
Dicentra
That is a good one.
spectabilis.
One of mine hasn't bloomed yet.
Oh.
I don't know that it's gonna this
My
year.
other bloomed real early. I think it is. I'm
Hellebores?
holding out hope. Yeah,
Hellebore
hellebores
definitely
are
blooms in-
fantastic.
There's a ton of plants that bloom in this year.
Solomon seal. I mean, it's
Impatiens.
not an impressive flower, but it still does flower.
Hydrangeas.
Oh,
will
there you
definitely
go. Let's
bloom in the
keep
shade.
going.
That's a shrub.
Viburnum.
Plenty of flowers.
And then you
that'll
got.
bloom in the
Then
shade.
there's a lot of annuals that
Oh,
specifically
tons.
do well. All of your impatiens.
begonias.
Begonias, particularly the green-leafed begonias,
Mm-hmm.
are more adept at shady conditions. The bronze leaf generally are more adept at handling more sunlight. So,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no shortage of things that will flower well in the shade. And I don't know, Austin. It seems as though the downy mildew problem that plagued impatiens, just the common impatiens, a few years ago, has kind of gone away, has it not?
I haven't seen that. None of the growers really have been talking to me about it. I know it was an issue. Also, too, there was a virus going around with the impatient necrotic spotted wilt virus. That was a whole
boy.
thing. That
That's
was a thing a number of years ago.
Necrotic
I know.
spotted virus?
It just kills stuff.
Wow.
Oh, it just kills stuff. But it hasn't not been a problem. I've got impatiens, little 4-pack impatiens, y'all, as cheap as you can buy. And, I use them in my front containers. I've got my containers on my front porch gets no direct sunlight, but it gets it's very bright, just from the sun. So I use impatiens in my pots, and they've been great. Not a spot on them. No necrosis. Just flower power beauties.
Hey, speaking of pots out in front of the house,
Really?
if you're going to be planting in those, maybe you've got these containers that you just in years past that haven't performed all that
Right.
well. You go, well, I fertilize, and
Yeah.
maybe you need to start with new soil in there. And Earth Mix Garden Products certainly gives you options to choose from. Proganics O is one of the premier products in the marketplace for outdoor container use. It is great for that. Now, maybe you just want to improve what's there. You could do that with Supernatural.
Yes.
Add that, incorporate that in with the say the top half of the soil, and really rejuvenate the soil that you have there. Of course, there's Earth Mix Garden, and there are other products such as Landscape. The entire Earth Mix line of products is organic. It's made right here in Middle Tennessee, and it is the most highly productive. We really feel like it's the most highly productive set of growing amendments in soils in the marketplace, whether you're using Viagra or Proganics I, as Caroline is a big fan of in the tropical world. They have no peat in any of them, which makes them more
The
sustainable.
Beatles, man. No
they have
peat.
a more, there's no peat. There's a more sustainable product, and you won't have any of the fungus gnats that are associated with peat. So if you want to find out where to get Earth Mix, simply go to earthmix.net and click on the Find Earth Mix tab. And once you're there, a map will pop up, and it shows you all of the pins all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana, Ohio, northern Alabama, out in Memphis, over in Knoxville, all over, everywhere in the southeast, and ever expanding. It's the Earth Mix network of resellers. Simply type in your address in the search box, or just zoom in to a pin nearest you so you can find out exactly what they've got and where you can get it. Remember, this success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products.
Something's on sale too, isn't it, David?
Well, that would be the next little thing
No,
we'll talk
the
about.
stuff in the little blue bag.
That's in the next spot.
Okay,
So
okay. Little sneak. Okay.
that's not an.
That's what we call a tease.
It's an Earth Mix brand, but it's not an Earth Mix sale.
All right, so speaking of Earth Mix, there is a product that can help with mole prevention. What is that?
This is with a question.
This is with a question.
Voles and mole
Voles
prevention.
and mole prevention.
We got something for you.
Y'all look stumped over there.
Sustain.
Yeah,
Not sustained.
Not sustain. Enlighten.
Oh,
Yes, sound effect board.
I'm dead.
Enlighten. There it is.
there it is.
Yep.
Yes. I love this product.
Yeah, and
By the way.
I do too.
the little description that is on the Earth Mix site regarding this is kill-fired expanded shale that helps aerate and loosen clay and compacted soils. It's lightweight aggregate. Adds more pathways to the soil for stronger rooting and healthier plants. Also beneficial in naturally deterring voles by creating a barrier around tender roots. It cuts their little feet when they try to dig in it, so they go somewhere else. Excellent aquatic potting media and filtration component for building healthy bacteria and water gardens. It makes a great
Now-
top dress for cacti, succulents, and bonsai. So
While we're talking
does.
about it, Volunteer Gardener came out to Bates Nursery and used Enlighten to as a demo to show how you pack it around the hole in a container to prevent moles and voles.
Moles and voles.
So
It's good. I had a guy come out yesterday that does big into aquaponics, which is kind of cool. And he was he did a whole bunch of what's that? The big rock.
That's a cool move that you
boulders?
got.
Lava rock.
man.
No, like lava rock. He had these 3 big old containers, and he was doing. He filled them with mostly lava rock, but then he needed some smaller, aggregate in there. So he filled the rest up with Enlighten. He got 2 scoops of it in the bed of his truck yesterday and left on out. But that's what he used, and I love it.
tell
I
him to
love
send a
it.
picky.
I do too.
I know we should. You know what? He had a Cheatham County Sheriff's Department shirt on. So
Wow.
Yeah, don't mess with him.
So that's
no,
exciting.
He's the
cool.
I
water
wonder if it
sheriff.
has some
Cheatham
sort
County.
of.
He's cool. Come on, Josh.
do what, Josh?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Don't mess with him.
No,
No.
he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's
he
a
is.
real nice guy. He's retired. He's doing aquaponics now. He's obviously retired. That takes a lot of time.
yeah, it does. It does.
He had a whole setup though. It looked really cool.
Would
But
it be a filtration product that they're thinking for it, or just as a
he
filler
was
between
filling the
line?
very top of his containers with it, and I'm not sure exactly what he was growing. I just got a quick picture. He was
Okay.
just, he was trying to get out of here and get his stuff and go. But yeah, it was cool.
Moles and voles don't like coconut either, so I mean that's why they don't. You put some.
Well,
sustain.
I don't think there's much research to back that
I
up,
don't
Josh.
either.
But
Would I lie to you?
well,
Yes.
I just don't
Would
think
I lie to you?
I just don't think
David?
they have.
Objection, hearsay.
I think that answers yes, Josh. But it might not be
Not
what
on
will be called
Father's
a
Day.
bald face. Well, we'll excuse it today.
Okay. Whatever.
Moving on.
Moving on, let's talk about powdery mildew
Okay.
and bee balm. If my bee balm gets powdery mildew, what's the best course of action from there?
If
It's
bee
not
balm gets
necessarily going to
powdery
get it.
mildew.
I've gotten it on mine once.
It happens a lot. I hate
It
powdery
does.
mildew. It's super annoying, y'all. I mean, cleaning the leaves is what I would tell y'all to do. That's highly annoying because you got a million leaves on your plant. So actually going out there and cleaning them, I mean, yeah.
There's a lot.
For a stand of bee balm, y'all know how big bee balm can get. If you get a bad outbreak of powdery mildew, it's just like really annoying to clean all those leaves. You know where I'm going on this?
Where?
Chop it.
Yep.
Start over.
Let it grow back.
It'll grow back, y'all. It happens all the time. If we get powdery mildew, which we do, y'all, we're not spraying chemicals out here trying to combat things. We try to do it a natural way. And if we see a plant that gets powdery mildew real bad, and there's just no point in wasting time on cleaning all those leaves, we literally chop it down to the base, and it comes right back. Right back.
It's a lot easier to start with clean leaves and keep them
Yep.
clean than to try to correct the bad leaves that are already there.
It is. It certainly is, because it's hard to totally get rid of powdery mildew once you got it.
And if you ever run a sprinkler, you know, those are the kind of things that really increase the likelihood of powdery mildew because you're watering the foliage. And we talk about this frequently. You know, the foliage of plants do not require water. Now, if you're going to wash off, like we were talking about the crepe myrtles, or getting dust off, that's one thing. But as far as a daily need basis go for water, that comes straight out of the ground. So if you can apply the water directly to the ground and not over the top, you'll greatly reduce the incidence of things such as powdery mildew and other diseases that affect the foliage.
It's so true. It's so true. Y'all, I know it is so much easier to just take your hose to your plant and just spray everything with water. Yeah, it's easier, but it's not going to be better in the long run.
Those drip type, those
it's
leaky
not.
pipes type of soaker hoses, while they're very non-spectacular, they do a great job of putting water right where you want it without spraying. And
Exactly.
I would highly recommend, if you're having issues in areas like that, to irrigate them accordingly.
Yeah, water directly to the plants you want to water. Because what it also ends up happening is you spray all the ground with all the water. What happens? Weeds grow.
Weeds.
Way worse. Way worse than if you were, keep the areas that you want to be weed free dry, and keep the areas that you want, your plants to do well in moist.
Yep.
There
There
it
you
is.
go.
Perfect. Let's talk about indoor plants for a moment. What are some of the best indoor plants or trees for someone that doesn't have a green thumb?
Hey, why don't you take this one, Caroline?
I'm going to
Hey.
take this one. Look, Tyler even zoomed in on this face.
Zoom in.
So my top 3 for low maintenance, easy care for beginners would be Sansevieria, Dracaena, and ZZ. So they're all very versatile when it comes to lighting. So knowing the best spot for lighting in your home can actually be a little bit tricky if you haven't worked with houseplants a lot before. So they can tolerate very, very low light, some of the lowest lights that houseplants can tolerate, to pretty high light. They just don't like a lot of direct sunlight. And then when it comes to watering, these plants can sit dry for months at a time. I've tested all of these that I've had, and they would rather sit dry than be wet. So these are the top 3, again, Sansevieria, Dracaena, and ZZ. Now, if you're an overwaterer, I would say blue star fern or rabbit's foot fern. These two are also low maintenance. They can sit wet, but they can also sit dry. So if you're like, I don't even know how to water, I might overwater, I might underwater, those are also 2 other options that are good, more tabletop houseplants. So there's your 5. Those are my favorite. I don't know if anyone else has an opinion. But
I think they should start with a fiddle leaf fig.
absolutely not.
Yep.
If
Well,
you're
you know,
good at neglecting things,
Speaking
which I
of
am,
speaking
then
of
maybe.
videos on YouTube, Austin did a couple of years ago a fiddle leaf fig. I believe that's got about 80,000 views on that. So
It does. I can't
it's not a complicated process, but it's obviously a process of interest. People have curiosity about how to replant their fiddle leaf fig. Those same principles apply to no matter what you're replanting.
Yes,
it just
exactly.
happens to be about a fig.
Exactly.
Yep.
You repot everything the same way for the most part.
Fiddle leaf figs aren't that bad. People just overly love them.
That's the thing.
I feel like
Hey.
you cannot fiddle with them.
And they
There it is.
try to use them in an area where there is not enough light.
That's
Yeah,
the key.
that too.
That's the big
They've
thing.
got to have light, otherwise you need to not be selecting those.
Oh, hey, I had a question actually.
Okay.
I had a question actually
Hey,
for
what's
Caroline.
up?
So I've got that Audrey ficus, that it's kind of like a fiddle leaf fig. You pretty much treat it the same
way
way. It just
easier.
looks a little bit different. But every year, my house has no light really good over the wintertime. Like, it's not good. Indoor plants don't like it. So they pretty much just stress and suffer to get through, and then I put them back out on my front porch where I was telling y'all earlier, it gets bright light but no indirect light. So it's great for houseplants. But inside my home is horrible. But I got this Audrey ficus, and it drops its leaves every wintertime. It's not dead. It just drops its leaves because my dry, dark home. But it's got a bud, at the very top that's about to crack a new leaf. What I'm wondering is, can I put that straight in, just like full blasting sun?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I do with my Audrey ficus every spring is I will bring it outside from the winter, and mine the same way. I have a lot of houseplants, so I kind of pick and choose which ones need bright light and which ones can tolerate kind of a dark corner. So my Audrey will slowly drop its leaves through the winter, and then right before I stick it outside, I will actually strip off all the leaves, and some years I chop it. I stick it out in full sun, and I've already got, in like the last month, I would say, 4 new leaves on each stem, which is a lot, and they're so healthy and gorgeous. They look better than it did when I brought it in the fall. So yes, Audrey ficus can actually take a lot of direct sunlight, but just know when you bring it in the winter, it's probably going to take a minute to acclimate, and it might look sad because it was used to getting that much sun. But that is what I do with mine.
Yeah, that acclimatization process going out in the spring and going back in the winter is, it happens on both ends of it. Since that ficus kind of treats or kind of acts like a semi-broadleaf in that it, if it were in enough light, it would retain its foliage. It's not a matter of temperature; it's a matter of light availability. So, but when you go out with something like that has no foliage on it, there is no transplant, or there is no shock due to excessive light.
Yeah.
All the new foliage that comes out will be adjusted to the light conditions that it's growing in, so you don't have to worry about it.
Very cool.
It does make it easier.
Those plants do I would say out of all the ficus, at least the ones we carry here at this nursery, Audrey ficus can tolerate the most sunlight.
Now, does it have
Yeah.
does it have a leaf that's very similar to what the Benjamin fig or the Ficus benjamina?
No,
or
it's very different.
Bigger, much bigger. It's in between fiddle leaf and Benjamin, I guess.
And it's also kind of fuzzy, which is fun.
Yeah, it's
Especially
got
the
some
new leaves.
fuzzy
They're very
leaves.
fuzzy, like a lamb's ear leaf. And then as they grow out, they kind of lose that fuzz a little bit, but they keep it. But I would say that's probably my favorite ficus.
Mine has a secondary bud, so it's got that main shoot, that's coming up, but then it's got a little side shoot that's wanting to come too. So, like I said, they haven't cracked any new growth yet, but I haven't put it in full sun. I'm gonna move
Stick it out in the yard,
I'm gonna move to the back porch.
or move it to the back porch.
Hey, speaking
Put
of
it somewhere.
ficus, while we're on the
Ficus.
subject of ficuses, I have an edible ficus.
Do you
It's
really?
a fig, also
yeah.
known as a fig.
Fig.
All ficus are fig.
Ficus ficus?
They're all in the same genus. But mine
Ficus.
mine that got completely killed back over the winter is now putting on incredible growth. So it almost looks like a vine. We're going to have to cut it back to get it within the bed area and out of the yard area, so the guys they won't, they don't want them mowing around it. We want to keep it within bounds. So if you see that happening to your ficus, don't be afraid to cut it if it's hanging over the edge. We're going to have to do that because we've got some new growth that's several feet long now. That's a great example of, even though plants get killed back at times in the winter, the root system's unaffected. So all the energy that's in that plant is being refocused to this new growth. And
Yes.
it can be incredible how fast it regrows. It can also somewhat grow so quickly that it cannot support all that weight initially. It has to get woody enough to be able to hold that up. So that's the way they work.
I had to put a barrier around mine to keep the lawn boy from getting in
see?
the landscape
Yeah.
side. Huh? He did.
Keep
he,
off.
He tried last week. I got him now.
All right.
I flagged it. Dude.
Got to flag stuff.
Yes, you do. I haven't flagged stuff, and my lawn guy has mowed over
Well,
so many things.
Renee has
It's my
someone
fault.
coming into the house to do some weeding for her, and she's got
You got weeds inside the house?
Well, it's outside the house.
Oh,
It's at
okay.
our house
Wow.
though, but she's got some areas that she has perennials in, and
Yeah.
the weeder person is a very good weeder, but they don't know what
What's
one
a weed
plant.
and what's another?
So Renee's got to flag all of the perennials so that she knows not to pull those. So that's a good way to deal with it if you don't want to deal with the weeds.
Yes, it is. All right, so we've got someone looking for an attractive small tree or shrub, full sun, no crepe myrtle or hydrangea. Ooh.
Small, attractive tree. You know what's coming on here soon? Vitex.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Chase
mine's-
tree.
Yeah,
Love
That's
it.
a small
Big fan.
blooming tree. You don't have to go expensive and buy big. Those things grow like a weed. Buy yourself a little 1 gallon and watch it for the season. It'll be 4 foot tall by the end of it. That'd be a cool
Yep.
one. American fringe tree is a very
Yes.
small kind of multi-stem tree that is extremely attractive in the late spring.
Yep.
They've already bloomed for the season, but they are very, very pretty. I've got a little red buckeye. Just love it.
Yep.
I mean, just love it. It's the one that will literally drop its leaves before any other tree there is. I was talking to a grower, really good grower out of Murfreesboro, Matt Veer,
Yep.
the other day out of Color Burst, who grows a lot of these perennials for us, and he does a really good job at it. He's got a red buckeye, and he said the same thing. He was like, yeah, the only bad thing is they drop their leaves about August, and they kind of do. Like, they just...
About the same time that a lot of cherries do.
Yeah.
You know, I have a cherry tree in my side yard that will, many times, if it's a hot, dry summer, it will be completely barren by early August.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. So that's
My
the only
witch
thing.
hazel fits that description as well.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
I had a witch hazel question yesterday, actually, from a guest that had it in way too much water. They said they was just looking great, and then all of a sudden it just started to tank, and they planted it like last spring. And I was like, well, that's weird. Once something, gets through a winter, typically it's fine. And it was looking great in the spring, and then all of a sudden it just started shutting down. So they dug it up and they pulled it out of the hole, and what'd they say? They said
black
that
roots.
the hole had half of it was full of water.
Wow.
100% full. They had an issue with their irrigation somewhere. They had an irrigation system, and something was not right. So that witch hazel was just crashing.
Oh, no.
So they pulled it out, got it in a pot with some landscape, and hopefully the witch hazel will be fine. But
Are you guys familiar with something called an ever after azalea? Is that
Ever
an
after?
encore?
It's another.
Repeat.
It's another
Reblooming.
name. Yeah, it's another reblooming type. You know, and
Okay.
so it's functionally similar to an encore, and there are other series. I think that have. I think Ever After may be a Biltmore series.
Well, this one
line.
came from Greg in
Ooh.
Corinth, Mississippi, and he says it's blooming now. Should he expect it to bloom this time every year?
Well, it'll, not just now; it'll bloom again,
Over and over.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
We've got some encores on the lot right now that I saw yesterday that are,
Gorgeous.
that are showing buds
Yeah.
to bloom here soon. So if you get an encore in the right amount of sunlight, which is a full sun environment, it'll bloom literally 3 times a year.
well, Greg posted a picture underneath the on the At Home Show page underneath the new banner ad. That looks like a perfect application
and
for them.
and
too.
all as across the board varieties go in that area of northern Mississippi, they're going to have better success year in and year out with them than we will here. They are there while there are cultivars of encore azaleas and repeat bloomers that are quite winter hardy. They're not universally extremely winter hardy. It's
Right.
not unusual to see those get killed back. And a lot of people who had them in their gardens this year experienced just that. That really
Greg
got-
should have sent that one to the in the garden where we feature a picture every week.
Well,
Yeah,
perhaps he
because
will.
this
you
is
know.
that's a beautiful spot.
we
right
go way back with Greg.
there. Wait, yep, he called the very first At Home Show.
Hey, let's
Yeah.
talk for just a moment about going way back.
Way
How about
back.
91 years ago, Josh?
91 years
That
ago.
was in 1932. It was the height of the Great Depression.
Yes, it was.
And my grandmother,
Nanny?
Nanny, began what is now known as Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Then it was just a florist and greenhouse, and over the years we have continued to evolve. And what you see today is a direct result of her efforts back in the day, and being able to overcome my very skeptical grandfather, who was certain they were going to lose everything, but that did not happen.
Nope.
Matter of fact, she paid off the mortgage after the first spring, and then he was only too proud to take share in the credit, just not in the blame.
That's all right.
That's another story for another
She got
day.
his name, so I mean everything's cool, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So Bates Nursery and Garden Center, we are plant people.
Yep.
That's what we do. If you gain nothing else from this program on Saturday mornings, you do gain the knowledge that that's what we do. We are all about horticulture and about all the things gardening. And I have a staff here that I can tell you I would trade with no one anywhere. They are stellar, top to bottom. You will find someone who can help you with your unique situation and help you to get the right plant in the right place the first time. That's the way we really work hard at trying to do it. And we give you a great many options. So many options that some people find it a little intimidating. That's why we're here to kind of help you through the process. And the great thing about as we go into the summer season is that we have a little bit more time. We're not spread so thin like we are in the springtime. So if you need more help, take photographs of the area that you're working on. Bring those along with you on your tablet or your smartphone. And that really helps to give us insight as to what's going on in your home and your landscape, and all the questions that we have about light availability or drainage and all that can be addressed at that time. I write a newsletter every week. If you go to batesnursery.com and you scroll just down the page here, it says newsletter. If you'd like to receive that newsletter, well, you can just sign up and get it right there. And if you decide you don't want it at some point, you can unsubscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you just unsubscribe and don't mark it as junk.
Junk.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Well,
the web browser. But you can click on the new blog
just
post.
rude.
Right there on the page, click on the new blog post. It went away before it would click.
You can scroll to the bottom also. We
Yes,
got
you
a
can.
And
fresh one down there.
let me try it one more time. There we go. This week for Bates Rewards members, 50% off 7-gallon skip laurels. There are a lot of folks who had skip laurels that did not fare well in the winter. Fortunately, most of them, or many of them anyway, came back out, but not all of them. So if you've got some skip laurels that you're wanting to replace, this is the time to do it. 50% off while supplies last.
That's almost like buy one, get one free.
It's very close to that.
Man.
Also in that category,
Yes.
Josh, would be the Earth Mix Viragra.
Oh!
And that is the gold standard of organic amendments.
Yep.
Unadulterated. There's nothing added to it. It is pure, unadulterated worm castings. Earth Mix Viragra is a great addition. You find those frequently on the internet, $30 to $40 a bag.
Yep. How big's the bag?
It's like about
That's-
a 20-liter bag,
20
which is
liter
like
bag,
maybe
yeah.
30-pound bag.
Yeah.
Earth Mix Viragra on sale this next week for today through Thursday. 50% off. That makes them about $8.50 a bag.
Wow.
You better stock up while they are
Wow.
on sale. We do have a great selection of herbs, also 50% off.
Yep.
And if by chance you missed your opportunity or you didn't get all the vegetables you wanted, those are free. All you want. Bring your truck out. Clean us out.
We got tomatoes and peppers. That's
We
about
gave- we
what
gave
we
it-
got, but we got a lot.
So many.
We tried to space it out to give everybody a chance who wanted it. There were those who indicated they would have liked to have had more. Well, now's that time. If you
Yep.
want to come out and get them, please do, because they're going to be gone quickly. So come out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. That's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And it doesn't matter where you're coming from,
Nope.
Josh.
I come from Smyrna.
It's worth the drive from
Yes,
anywhere.
yes.
So come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Yep.
So thank you for
It's
giving
a
us
great sale.
a couple of minutes to check that out.
You know what else is great?
What's
What?
great?
In bloom with Austin. We get to do this.
Hi. So there's a lot of stuff. Well, there's not a ton of things blooming, minus the weeds. I know y'all had noticed. Driving in this morning, I was looking around and I was like, good Lord, like all on the side of the roses, nothing but weed, like
Gorgeous.
Queen Anne's lace and
Gorgeous
a
weeds.
bunch of number of things that are blooming. But as trees go, there's not just like a ton that are still blooming. But I will say magnolia, y'all, evergreen magnolia. If you like a magnolia tree, then you need to get one because, good Lord, they've been in bloom for like a month and a half. I've been
Yes.
talking about magnolias every week.
Unbelievable.
Seriously, just crazy. Another one on the side of the road that you see a lot and don't really notice until you do is called sumac. You probably know this is a pretty big growing weed,
Yep.
and it is, but it's in bloom right now. Kind of pretty. I got a number of them in my yard. Chinese chestnut still going off, looking good. I really like that tree. It's really, really pretty. And you know what I saw this morning? My very, very first crepe myrtle. Just started, y'all. The very first bloom.
Now, this was
morning.
one that was already in the landscape, right?
Oh
This
yeah,
is-
yeah. It was driving in. I didn't expect to talk to y'all about crepe myrtle at all today.
But
then
here we
this
are.
morning, I saw one blooming, just starting. So
Back in the day, the older varieties never started blooming before August. So
I know.
That's
Wow.
one of the advents of hybridization, and
Yeah.
is that they have developed significantly earlier flowering crepe myrtle.
I got one at the house that's not even thinking about blooming yet. It's kind of a later blooming variety anyway, but it hadn't started. But like I said, I saw one this morning, so get ready. I'm about to be talking about that for the next month and a half because crepe myrtles bloom for a very long time.
Yes.
Not all of them, but almost all of them. Hydrangeas, still oak leaf going off. Annabelles this year and Incrediballs have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Pure white blooms, as big as can be. God, I love that plant so much. I just noticed the Quickfire hydrangea this morning. That's a panicle style hydrangea that prefers the full sun. Those are the first one of the panicles to start going, and they started budding and almost blooming. Not quite yet, but they'll be full show before you know it.
By the way, the general manager,
GM.
also known as Adam Chapman, sent Tyler a picture of his Quickfire.
There it
is.
is.
Look
Wow.
at that.
He's had that for like 20 years, I think he told me.
That is magnificent.
That's gorgeous.
Wow.
His is further along than mine. He lives in Springfield. My tree form hydrangea is nowhere near that yet.
Is that
Mine's not either.
is yours in as much sun as his is? Or?
Maybe not as much. I mean, mine gets a good amount of sun, but it's not. Mine are just pure white right now, so they haven't went to that kind of red color yet. But yeah, Adam, he showed me that picture before. That plant is literally like 10 to 12 feet tall and wide. Like it is huge.
So you remember that
It's
when you're
big.
considering the spot.
Uh-huh.
Now, Austin, you mentioned one, Queen Anne's lace. That's the white one, right?
Yeah, that's the one you see along the road line. I mean, we don't even like sell that.
No, I know, but it's a weed. But I mean, there's another weed that can get confused with that, isn't it? A
Poison hemlock.
Yeah.
Yep. Very poisonous plant.
No,
They look
but
just
the
alike.
Queen Anne's lace is when it goes to the seed stage is what was commonly referred to as stick tights.
Like what?
Or-
Oh,
It comes-
yeah.
Oh,
it comes-
yeah.
brush
that-
mine.
You get anywhere near it and touch it,
All
they're
over.
gonna. It's got little Velcro hooks on it. It'll
really?
just it'll grab your clothing or any passing animal. That's how they make sure
Really?
they stay spread about. Is that they hang on to everything. So this time of year they're quite attractive. A little later on, they are problematic.
Yes.
Diana on the Bates page is saying, what about hibiscus in different colors? Perennial? Got cut off there.
We certainly have what was it? Hibiscus in different colors and leaf colors. Actually, there's like regular green leaf hibiscus. Now there's a purple leaf hibiscus that I grow at the house. I really like.
Is yours blooming yet?
It's
No.
budding up.
They're
Mine
budding.
are.
They're budding. Yeah, they're not quite blooming
And
yet.
where the flowers get the size of a dinner plate on those.
Big as your face.
So large.
Mine died last year.
I had one die out of 3, and of course it was the one in the middle.
Of course.
Always.
Well, that still makes it kind of even if it was the one in the middle. Then.
No, it makes it kind of annoying.
Oh, okay.
Put
I had a
box wood
triangle
there,
of
right?
3. There's no triangle anymore without the middle.
Yeah, but if one of them was on the end, it would be so uneven. Now it's at least a little even. I'm just trying to find a light here.
You're right. That's kind of true.
All right, let's keep going.
I got to play pacemaker. Let's get these questions.
Yeah, let's do some questions. That's what's in bloom, y'all. That all the perennials.
it?
You know what? I'm just gonna say all the
Okay.
perennials.
All of them.
Echinacea, coreopsis, canna lily, penstemon, you name it. Perennials
That
are
sounds like a
popping.
song.
Everything except daylilies, I guess.
Oh,
Right.
daylilies. I
No,
forgot
my
about
daylilies are blooming.
Oh yeah,
Mine are
daylilies are
kind of
orange
done.
ones.
Mine bloomed.
Done?
Yeah, I don't have any blooms on them.
But are the repeat bloomers flowering yet, or are they pretty much? Or
I passed the house right next to the nursery actually that had some little yellow. It looks like probably happy returns. That's one, hence the name returns. They rebloom. That's what it looked like to me.
I guess
I don't
I
know what I
stare at
have.
the road too much while I'm driving. I just missed it.
I'm all over the road, just looking
Just
at
looking
trees
at
and
flowers.
plants. Yeah, I'm gonna wreck.
looking at all the flowers. Yeah, my echinacea in my yard looks amazing this year.
Yeah, it's been a good year for
By the
echinacea. They're
way.
really pretty.
All right, so that's what's in bloom.
Yep.
So you touched on hydrangeas a little bit. You were talking about some that are blooming. We've gotten quite a few of these questions. People saying their limelights aren't blooming yet. The leaves look healthy. Is it okay?
Of course, it's okay. It's not time yet.
It is not. Mine's
Nope.
not even anywhere close.
No, limelights are the last of the hydrangeas to bloom. So we have some here on the lot that are starting to bud up a little bit. But in the landscape, I haven't really noticed them even starting to bud yet. So just wait it out on limelight. You ain't. There's no. I don't think there's ever been a year where limelight wouldn't bloom.
No.
Like that doesn't happen. So just wait it out. They're coming.
Yeah, mine just look like leaves, no buds or anything. All right, let's talk about roses for a moment. Any tips or things I should know about growing a climbing rose in a container?
Well, you know, growing them in a container, I think, is a better practice, first off, so good work there. Keep them moist. Roses are fairly thirsty creatures, so, make sure they have a good drain hole and they drain really well, but make sure you keep them kind of moist. They don't want to really turn dry. Other than that...
If they're repeat bloomers, which you frequently are. Roses are heavy feeders. They do not like to be nutritionally starved at all. So if you want them to do well, you need to make sure you fertilize those. Unless you're using an extended release like sulfur coated type of fertilizer such as Osmocote, they really ought to be fertilized monthly.
Yes.
And most of those repeat blooming types are also known as monthly roses.
Yep. And also be quick to deadhead. If you have old spent blooms, go ahead and get rid of them and plant for new growth.
The rose hips will suck up all of that energy if you don't do that.
They get a little hippie, you're saying?
Well, they
I know.
that's the fruit that's being produced.
And one big tip that David pointed on or talked about earlier is do not water rose leaves ever. We don't need to water any plant's leaves, but roses specifically, they get black spot fungus. They can be really bad. The more you water leaves, you're going to spread that around. So don't do that. Just water directly to that pot.
Don't do that. Speaking of watering things, new #1 Green Velvet Boxwoods on drip irrigation. What volume per hour emitters are needed?
Whew. That's very specific.
It's very specific.
You don't know the soil. You don't know the.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Don't know the size of the plant.
Yeah.
Well, he said it's a #1 green
gallon.
velvet, which is that's a small plant, and you want to keep it moist but not wet. Boxwoods do not need a ton of added water, y'all. Like they don't want to stay wet. The wet for a boxwood is no good. So keep them on the dry side.
I planted 6 #1 Green Velvets about a month ago, and I watered them thoroughly when I planted them, and I've watered them once since putting them in the ground. They look fantastic, and I actually gave them a little tug, and they're in there. And I planted some last year as well, and other than the one-time watering them after I put them in ground, I don't think I ever did.
And one of the really important points about watering, a lot of it has to do with what kind of plant it is, but also has to do with how well you have prepared the hole before you plant and how adept is that soil going to be at holding moisture, allowing the root system to get into that mass area around it. There is a hedge of green giant arborvitae that I planted as a 5-gallon size. I think it was 5 years ago. They were 30 inches tall. The shortest of the bunch is well above 8 feet now. And they are within 5 years of making, they were planted 10 feet on center. They're within 5 years of really growing together. Now, my point is this. Because I timed it right, they got really excellent rains because we planted them in February, I think the year we planted. We did not have to water them until one time I watered in August. And then I did have to water this past August one time. I've watered those plants on 2 occasions in the last 5 years.
Amazing.
Yes. But when you watered them, you watered them.
I soaked them.
Yes. That's the key.
Watered them, you watered them.
Yep. So it takes quite a lot when you're doing it. I used a 1-inch hose that is almost like a fire hose. So it's a high volume of water and move from plant to plant to plant so as to minimize the runoff. But I did it like 6 times, and they got really soaked each time. So just a little tip there.
Best fertilizer for young trees.
Tree tone.
Tree tone.
Why not? It's in the name.
Okay.
That's
Can
just
you
a
plant directly into a bag of green earth mix? Well, that would be garden, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take a tomato plant, stick
Ready
it
to
right
go.
in there, and yep.
Pop it. Go.
That's all you
We were
gotta
going to do that, and we never did. We wanted to just lay a bag down.
You know what? We still could.
We still have tomatoes.
We do have
Yeah,
tomatoes.
there's so much time.
Do you know where
Let's
to
do
get
it
any
today.
Let's do
earth
it.
mix?
Huh?
You know where to get some earth mix too, probably.
I do, yes.
I believe we covered that
Okay.
this week.
All right, let's get one final question
Okay.
in from our Instagram. How much room to give a hydrangea boxwood hedge from your brick house?
A what?
Hydrangea
Boxwood
boxwood hedge.
Oh, this is just a perfect question.
This is definitely an Austin question.
So the first things first. I didn't say that
The
right.
first
you
thing.
nailed it.
Put your
Keep going.
boxwoods in front of your hydrangeas.
Exactly.
First thing. People mess that up all the time. They want to put hydrangeas, flower, and stuff out in front of your evergreens in the back. No go.
Nope.
Hydrangeas in the back, boxwoods in front. And
No, there's 2 reasons why that you should do that, is there not, Austin? No,
There
what's
is.
the first one?
first reason is you get beautiful white blooms atop of your green foliage out in front.
And what's number 2?
Number 2 is that those green shrubs hide those ugly sticks over the winter whenever everything's dormant.
Exactly.
Cool.
So y'all got to do it that way. When it comes to spacing, it depends on the hydrangea. So we need to talk about that when you come out or whatever. But if you're using, say, like my Incrediballs or David's Annabelles or Caroline's Limelights, you want to at least give those at least 3 feet probably in between. That's about as tight as you want to go. And then they'll bloom right atop of that green foliage, which is an excellent look. You're talking Southern Living
Spectacular.
magazine, baby.
You are.
Love it.
Spectacular.
Yep, throw a crepe myrtle right in the
Austin
middle of
Hey, Austin,
yeah,
would that be money?
that'd be money.
Okay.
Money.
Money power right there. All right. That was fun. That
was fun.
I knew you'd be all about that question.
Yeah, it was a
Man's
good one.
fired up.
I know. You
Firing me up.
hydrangeas and boxwoods.
Okay.
And you throwing a crepe myrtle. Yeah.
Austin, happy Father's Day to you.
Thank
I know-
you.
I
Happy
know,
Father's
that-
Day to you.
I know those
Father's
3
Day,
beautiful
everybody.
daughters of yours are got a big day planned for Papa.
I hope so.
So I think I'm having dinner with my children. How about you, Josh? Don't
I
know.
think I'm going to get a new set of tires.
Nice.
No.
I mean, that's a dad
Well,
gift.
that's a dad
No, I gotta go
gift.
get it.
Great.
That's what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
call a well-rounded gift.
Yeah, but they're
what
on the
dads like.
truck, so it's not really mine. So we're gonna see. That's okay.
It all works.
Love my babies. I wish, Dad, I could come see you. I absolutely do. So, hey, the Major will be with us. He's been around. So,
All right, don't
everybody's
forget,
moving.
Dad, do something nice for him. By the way, tomorrow is
Mowers
our
grass.
final Sunday at Bates Nursery for this summer season. This is the last Sunday of spring coming up. So come on out this Sunday. We will be closed on Sundays until fall. Remember that.
That's fair.
Yep. I'll be working tomorrow. Bring me a Father's Day gift.
Yes.
There you go.